And he's getting credit for several months that he's already spent in custody. So he's probably looking at about 7 more years in jail for a 70-year-old man. But it's important to remember again that this is not the last step in this process. If Manafort has been looking for a pardon or for clemency from President Trump, it doesn't really matter to him whether he gets a 10-year sentence or a 2-year sentence if he's expecting the president to wipe that all out.
Right. So it looks like, and I'm doing the calculations along with the both of you, count one, 60 months with 30 months concurrent with the EDVA sentence, that's the Virginia sentence, and count two, 13 months to run consecutive to count one along with the EDVA sentence, Bob.
Right. And so the 60 months on count one, if you take, he nets out to about 30 months after you take out the part that's going to be served concurrent with Judge Ellis's sentence. So that's a total of 43 months additional on top of the 47 months that Judge Ellis sentenced him to.
Okay. So, Paula, the other question, I guess, as we wait for the wire that gives us the exact math as to the number of months Mr. Manafort is going to actually serve, what kind of prison is he going to go to?
Well, his lawyers have asked if he can go to a facility that will have some sort of medical support. I mean, people affectionately call these club-fed facilities. It's low security, someplace where he can get the medical support for his gout, but he's not going to be under really strict conditions, unlike, for example, El Chapo, who's headed to Florence, Colorado, to his Supermax. They want something with minimal security so he can have visits from his family, but also because of his age and his health, they have asked for a place where he can get the medical care that he needs. It is likely that the court will probably grant that request, but it's not clear specifically where he'll serve out this term.
Okay, so again, I want to just refine the reporting that we have on the exact sentence that Mr. Manafort has received, Bob Litt, there in D.C. for us. Sentence 60 months. So now 60 months for count one, concurrent to 30 months previously imposed in Virginia, 13 months for count two, consecutive to count one, and the sentence in Virginia, 36 months supervised release to run concurrently to Virginia, restitution of over $6 million that will only be paid once, and the judge, declined to fine Mr. Manafort.
Right. When you take into account the restitution and the forfeitures, Manafort has suffered a fairly substantial financial penalty as a result of this offense.
And so this prison that Paula was talking about, I mean, and I get that he's older and that he's sick, but, the discussion that we were having just a minute ago about, the discrepancies in sentencing for people who commit white-collar crimes versus low-level offenders of other crimes or people of color, let's just call it for what it is. Even if you're going to one of these, as I think Paula called it, a club fed, people keep pointing out that he's older and then, he's in the, potentially the final years of his life. Does it really matter if you're in a country club?
Well, it's not exactly a country club. Ultimately, the Bureau of Prisons determines where somebody is going to serve their sentence, and that's based on a variety of factors, including how dangerous the person is, the length of the sentence, whether there's a need to isolate the individual from other persons. And there are several degrees of federal institutions, ranging from prison camps, which are the least restrictive, up to the kind of supermax prison that you talked about before, where El Chapo is going. Interestingly, some of the facilities with the best medical care are not the least restrictive facilities. And so there's sometimes a trade-off between a need to get actual medical care and a desire to be in the least restrictive kind of facility.
It's really fascinating. Let me ask both of you, starting with Bob, as we watch this play out, the idea, I just want to step back for a moment and just analyze the situation where we are right now in this country. A man who was the campaign chairman of the President of the United States as he was running for the candidacy of the presidency has now been convicted to over 7 years in federal prison for a variety of crimes, ranging from money laundering to lying to investigators. And I know that, the president will say this, he'll come out and he'll say no collusion. We anticipate that. But just the idea that someone connected to the President of the United States could be sentenced to prison in this way? Just, Bob, your institutional experience, your knowledge of the courts, the system, our politics, what does this tell you?
Well, I think the only comparison you can make in recent history, really, is to Watergate, where you had people who were very close to the president, including his attorney general and his campaign finance chair, as well as close White House advisors who were convicted of criminal activity. That's not necessarily a flattering comparison for any president to have. It's quite extraordinary to have so many people who were involved in the president's campaign be convicted of fairly significant criminal activity and of lying about it. And ultimately, what this all boils down to is we're just going to have to wait and see what Bob Mueller finds and what he reports.
Paula, to you now. I know you have some reporting you want to share with our viewers.
That's right. From our colleague Arden Farhi, who was inside the courtroom, he talked a little bit about Manafort and his family and how they reacted to the sentence. He says there was no visible reaction from Manafort's wife. I've sat behind her during these proceedings. She tends to exhibit a lot of disgust with this process, but she had no reaction to the sentence. He said that Manafort kept eye contact with the judge throughout her entire lengthy explanation of the sentence, but his attorneys apparently just looked down at the table. Now, he reminds us that Manafort was wheeled in a wheelchair. This time he got to wear a suit, or last week he was in his prison garb. But he says Manafort's attorneys will come out and address the press. That's pretty consistent. They tend to say one or two sentences after each hearing, and so we'll hear what they have to say. It's unclear whether or not they will still be bound by their gag order or if they will be willing to take some questions from reporters here at the courthouse.
Yeah, and Paula, you cover the White House. How do you think I'm asking you a little here to speculate, but given what's happened today, it appears that this hearing is over. The judge has left the courtroom. What are you at all anticipating from the White House?
I expect that if the president comments on this, he will try to argue once again, no collusion, even though the judge said this has nothing to do with collusion. But then he will do what he has done consistently over the past 17 months. He will try to distance himself from his former campaign chairman and also try to elicit sympathy. He's a good man. This is terrible. His family. That has been how the president has consistently reacted to pretty much every development in the Manafort case.
All right. Paula Reed reporting from the courthouse in Washington, D.C. Bob Litt, thank you both for what we call in this business tap dancing. I am not a lawyer. I don't know anything about the law other than I try never to be on the other side of it. And you both were able to illuminate this discussion, the analysis of what was happening in that courtroom for me and for our viewers. And for that, I thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on now, we're following some breaking news in Los Angeles, where actress Lori Loughlin has been taken into custody. She has been charged in that nationwide college admissions scam. Dozens of other wealthy parents, coaches, and administrators have also been indicted, as well as actress Felicity Huffman. Prosecutors say some of them paid millions to get their children into elite schools like Yale, Stanford, and the University of Southern California. The universities claim that they are victims. In other news, Canada has grounded all Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes after Sunday's deadly crash in Ethiopia. So with Canada, now the United States remains the country that is still flying those jets. The U.S. Has declined to ground those aircraft. Meanwhile, countries around the world have some type of ban in place. Meanwhile, investigators are still trying to determine what led to the crash that killed 157 people, including 8 Americans. It was the second deadly accident involving a 737 MAX in 5 months. Our Chris Van Cleve has been following this.
The FAA says it has no basis right now to justify the grounding of the 737.